Hello, everybody. Okay, it's Friday. I'm so glad this has just been a crazy, crazy week. So I'm very glad that it's over and I'm looking forward to the weekend. I have been tagged by the beautiful Amina from Experiencing Fragrances with Amina. I discovered her YouTube channel only last week, I think, and I have been binge watching her channel for days. I just love how she speaks. I love her presentation. I love the pace of her videos. I have a lot to learn from her about pace. She's just so articulate and well spoken, but funny. And yes, we all know that I like to ramble, and I'm sorry about that. It's just who I am. Nothing comes out of my mouth quickly. Anyway, she tagged me in a tag, which I'm very grateful for, and it was perfect timing because I am going away this weekend, and I just wanted to also get this one out, or just to film something that's sort of quick and easy, just in case I don't get the other video done. But I'm really going to try. So this tag is called the sentimental tag, I think. And we just have to talk about 3 fragrances that have sentimental memories for us, or have a strong memory association. I think that's the purpose of this tag. Well, in fact, it was funny because I pretty much refer to scent memories in just about every video that I do. Now I have an opportunity to elaborate even further. So settle in and grab a glass of wine or a cup of tea, because I can't promise this is going to be a short, sharp video. All right, well, let's get started. So the first one that I want to talk about is Lafleur by Coty. I bought this bottle purely for the scent association. This was my first perfume, and it just takes me back to a time in my life where, I really had no troubles at all whatsoever, nothing to worry about. We were riding horses. Everything was pretty relaxed. I was playing music. Everyone in my family was happy. I just remember it was a great time of my life, and I was carefree without a worry in the world. And so when I bought this bottle, and I realized it was not something that I would ever want to actually put on my skin ever again. I thought about getting rid of the bottle, but then no, I don't want to, because it really does. I love just taking it off and smelling it out of the bottle. And even though it's not something that I would want to wear, I just think it just takes me back to that time in my life. And it's a good memory. It's a really good memory. All right, so the next one is Flower by Kenzo. And wow, yeah, this takes me back. So I think I bought a bottle of this when it was first released. Actually, I didn't buy the bottle. My then partner bought me a bottle of this. What this reminds me of is there's actually a particular night that this smell takes me back to every time I smell it. Even though I wore it for a good couple of years, there is one particular night that I associate it with, and I'll tell you why. I am a bit of an introvert. A lot of people, although as I've gotten older, I've learned to, I guess, mask my introvert tendencies. I was very painfully shy until my early 20s. And interestingly, what got me out of being so shy was sport. I got through uni barely talking to anybody. I got through university barely making any friends. I think I had 3 friends, and one of those was a friend I had from primary school. So, I was just painfully shy. I never spoke to anybody, never looked at anybody. And I got to my early 20s. I was feeling not very good because I hadn't been doing much exercise for about 4 years. And so I decided to join a gym. And same thing, I'd go to the gym, wouldn't look at anyone, wouldn't talk to anyone. And then one day I noticed on the notice board there was a invitation or a notice for a triathlon, a women's triathlon training group, which, you know, you did a course for 10 weeks and then that culminated in doing your first triathlon. And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And then literally a week later, one of my girlfriends said to me, I think I want to do a triathlon. And so I went, I've got just the thing. So we signed up for this course. And I don't know what it was. I think it was because I was so terrified about the prospect of doing a triathlon. I was a terrible swimmer. I hadn't ridden a bike since I was in my early teens, maybe. So I was thinking, this is going to be crap. The only thing I know how to do is run. And even then I wasn't very good at it because I was so unfit. And then, you know, it was just the camaraderie that developed doing that course amongst all these women who came from all walks of life, a range of different age groups, and a range of different fitness levels. And it was just a very warming experience to be to make friends and to do something on my own without my partner or although it wasn't really on my own, I was doing it with my friend. But it was just really nice to branch out and do something that was out of character for me and a bit scary as well. So, but getting back to this perfume, what ended up happening was I was doing this triathlon course. And I don't know, something about doing that course transformed me into a much more confident person. And maybe it was just the very act of doing all those things and realizing that I could go from not being able to swim 10 meters to being able to swim kilometers at a time. And to just understand that as human beings, we are actually very capable of, you know, learning new things even as adults. And so I remember at the end of doing that course, I did the triathlon, and I was really fit. I felt great. I felt the fittest I'd been in a really, really long time, probably ever. Actually, it would have been ever. And my partner took me out. Oh, my partner and my partner's friends were all arranging to go out one night, go clubbing or something. And I used to hate going clubbing because I was so shy, and particularly I was very shy around his friends because they were all so cool and I wasn't. So we went out, and I just remember I felt like $1 million that night, and this was what I wore on that night out. And I just remember I felt really good about myself that night. And I just remember everyone was just going, wow, you look amazing. Wow, like something's so different about you. And I realized at first I just thought, oh, it's because I've probably lost a couple of kilos and I straightened my hair, put on some makeup. But I don't think it was that. In hindsight, I think actually it was how I was feeling on the inside that was just exuding and making these people sit up and take notice and actually talk to me. And it wasn't that they never would have spoken to me before. It was just that I was always so painfully shy that I would never say boo to anyone. I'd never look at them. So they all probably thought that I didn't like them. And so that's what this perfume reminds me of. It reminds me of that night. It reminds me of how I felt. It reminds me of how confident I felt for the first time ever going out in public. And that's why I keep it in my collection. I never wear it anymore, but I like to smell this to remind me of how I felt then. So the next one I want to talk about is, I've actually spoken about this before, so hopefully I can make this a little bit quicker. But this is Elie, Le Parfum by Elie Saab. Oh, I love this perfume. So I'll try and link the video of where I spoke about this previously, but I bought this on my way to Paris from Toronto back in 2012, I think. And I had never, so this reminds me of my trip to Paris. It is a very special memory because it's the first time I'd ever been to Europe. In fact, the only place I'd ever been overseas prior to that was Bali. And when I lived in Perth in Western Australia, so Bali is only about a 3.5 hour flight from Perth. So it's really not that far. It actually takes longer to get to Brisbane from Perth than it does to get to Bali. So the trip to Paris was a spur of the moment thing. And I only booked the flight to Paris because I was in Toronto for work and I thought, oh, well, I'm closer to Paris than I've ever been, so I may as well go, even though it wasn't that close. And I only had 3 days there. I barely slept for those 3 days. And I was really nervous about going because I didn't speak any French. And I'd heard all these horror stories about how French people would be so rude to you because you don't speak French. No one was rude to me. One person was, but it really didn't bother me. But everyone was so nice. And I barely slept. I just walked the city for 3 days and ate lots of food. Looked at lots of art, looked at lots of buildings, just soaked up the atmosphere. And I wore this perfume the whole time that I was there, and I just felt so chic. I also it brings back a feeling of, you know, I just landed this new job. It was pretty exciting. And I thought I'd made it. You know, I thought this is going to be my career job. And it didn't turn out to be the case, unfortunately. But I just remember feeling finally like I was a success, or I'd been successful. And I was just walking around France by myself on holiday, not speaking any French. Well, I was learning French. I was trying to, because all the locals kept trying to teach me French. They were so lovely. And it was just a great time. I remember going to a bar just around the corner from the apartment that I was staying in. And there was this tiny little, I was actually trying to find the person who owned the apartment had said, oh, there's a little Italian restaurant down there. Just, you know, and it's, you know, a few doors up, and it made really good food. And this is the night before my last day in Paris, and I had been walking for so long and I was so tired, and I just thought, I don't feel like going anywhere too far. I just want to go somewhere close so that I can get back and have an early night. Anyway, I found the restaurant, but I couldn't find the door. And I went in through this door and I ended up in a bar, which was next to the restaurant. And I nearly turned around and walked out, but there was a little trio playing in the corner of this tiny, tiny bar right next to the door, and they were playing jazz music. And it was just so cool, and it was really lovely, and the bar was empty from what I could see. So I decided to just stay for a drink, and then I thought I'll go find the restaurant after I've had this drink. Anyway, I go into the bar. There's no one downstairs listening to the trio, but upstairs it was full. Anyway, I went upstairs and I didn't really like the atmosphere up there. I wanted to be down where the music was. So I went back down to the bar, and the bartender came downstairs to serve me. Anyway, so the bartender came down and served me a drink, and he asked me where I was from, and I told him, and he said, oh, actually one of the people playing in the trio lived in Perth for a while. So when they had their break, they came over and he introduced me to them and we were talking, and yep, sure enough, one of them had lived in Perth for a while. And he played at one of the bars that I used to frequent as a uni student quite a lot, actually. And he was in a cover band that was really popular at the time. So I didn't know him personally, but I knew of the band that he played in. I just remember sitting there listening to the music, having a glass of champagne, and then the bartender was making cocktails for all the people upstairs. And every time he made a cocktail, he'd have a little nip of it and he'd give me a little nip of it because, you know, he always had excess left in the thing. So my one glass of champagne turned into probably several glasses of alcohol. And I just remember there being all these people just streaming throughout the night through this bar. So this bar was empty when I went in downstairs, and then throughout the night it got very full. And I just remember talking to a lot of people that night, but none of them spoke English and I didn't speak French. But somehow we all managed to have a conversation, and it was just a fantastic night. So I never ended up getting any dinner that night. I think I left the bar when it closed at 3 a.m. They all tried to convince me to go out clubbing with them afterwards, but not being able to speak French and being quite inebriated, I knew that I would have trouble getting home because taxi drivers in Paris could be notorious. So I thought, I'm not going to go to the bar because I don't know who they are or where we were going. But it's just a fantastic memory. I just loved that time, those 3 days in Paris. I was exhausted when I left. I don't think I remember being so tired ever. But it is quite funny because if you've ever seen that movie Midnight in Paris, the way they party in that film and how, you know, they just get anybody to come along with them. That's what it felt like. Anyway, it was so fun. I loved that memory. All right, so I am going to do 4. So the last one, this will be really quick. This is also another travel memory, but this is Myrrhe Carmin by Givenchy, and this is one of my favorite perfumes. Oh my God, that is just so good. This has sentimental value for me because my partner, Matt, bought me this fragrance when he came back from Spain last year. And the reason it's kind of special is because I went to Spain with him and he stayed for a month. I could only stay for 2 weeks. But I've never been to Spain before. We had so much fun. It was quite an adventure. We drove around Spain, which freaked me out because obviously driving on the wrong side of the road, or the other side of the road. And it was just an amazing holiday. It was the first holiday that we had taken together. And I don't know, it was just a really special memory. And he bought this for me. So I came back and then he came back 2 weeks later. And I remember I was missing him so much. And he brought this perfume for me because I had dragged him to quite a few perfumeries when we were over there. Every time I saw a perfumery, we had to stop and I had to go in and have a look. But I was really super impressed with this purchase because the poor guy knows nothing about perfume, but he managed to pick up a doozy. Oh man, this is so good. And I can't find it anywhere anymore. It's not on their website and I haven't been able to find it advertised anywhere, so perhaps it was just a limited edition, but it is the most stunning fragrance I've ever smelled. Anyway, I think I have discussed this in one of my very early videos on this channel. I think I didn't even want to show my face on that video, so I think I just went through, I think it was my favorites of 2019, and that was one of them where I talk about it a little bit more. And so anyway, it reminds me This fragrance reminds me of Matt. This fragrance reminds me of that holiday that we went on. And it reminds me of how much I missed him when I got back and he was still over there. So it's just a really nice memory. It's a memory of him coming home to me and bringing me perfume. I mean, what better memory could you have? Well done, Matt. He's got a lot to live up to now, set by his own standard. Anyway, so that's that one. All right, well, that was really long. Hopefully I can cut this down. But thank you so much for if you're still here and listening to me because I realize this is really long. And I think we're going to leave it there. So tomorrow we are going down to the coast. And yeah, have a lovely weekend, everyone. I'm so excited. Can you tell that I'm excited? We are getting out of this house. And if you are familiar with any of the perfumes that I talked about, then let me know. But more importantly, if you have scent associations or special sentimental memory associations with any of your fragrances, then please share in the comments below because I love hearing stories like that. But otherwise, I'm out of here. This lockdown thing has been challenging, but we are so looking forward to seeing the ocean, getting some fresh air. It's going to be good. I'm an idiot. I just realised I never actually told you what the fragrances smelled like. I don't know if that was a prerequisite to this tag, but given that we are a perfume channel, you would think that people would want to know what they smell like. So really, really quickly, this smells like potpourri, florals and musk. This smells like orange blossom. Yeah, really sort of refined, perfumey orange blossom, very sophisticated. This one smells like flowers, obviously, but it more specifically smells, it's got violet and rose in it and a popanax in it, and it's very, very powdery. It's a beastly fragrance, this one, beastly. And then this one, this one smells like dark fruits, resins, a little bit patchouli, florals. I think there's rose in there, and probably a bit of vanilla as well. It's stunning, stunning, but kind of dark. There you go. Job done. It only took half an hour. See you guys.